Welcome to Cribs and Guitars, welcome to the building of BoB1. This is the penultimate video. In the... penultimate? I suppose apart from the final demo. This is the video in which I do the frets and the fretwork. Fret leveling, fret crowning, fret polishing. It is one of the most important parts of a build. And that is where we are at today. I've been building this insane guitar. It has never been done before, and today I'm putting it together. Just come out of the spray booth. We've got this fantastic open pore finish. Look at the shimmer and shine, and yeah, I'm super happy with how it's looking. Really happy, and I don't think she's going to disintegrate under the tension and pressure of all of you people watching. Welcome to Frets and Fretting. Now, this entire part of the build is basically one giant advert for Crimson Guitars, and that is unavoidable. We manufacture or have manufactured pretty much every tool that you will see moving forward, and of course go to Crimson and buy them and you can win the guitar. So the process goes as such. First of all, we use the notched straight edge to check how level the fretboard is. Notched straight edges are excellent. They do not sit on the top of the frets, which only tells you what the frets themselves are doing. It sits in between the frets. See the fretboard, you can read it and then adjust the truss rod accordingly. You basically want to level the frets to a level fretboard rather than level the frets to whatever the fretboard happens to be doing when you start work. At this stage, always use the fret rocker. Essentially, you are pre-diagnosing any issues that you might well have. Use a fret rocker. Essentially, it shows you if you have a high fret or a low fret by rocking on 3 frets. Now, depending on who did your fretwork, you at this stage should also check and see if there's any give in the frets. If you have a fret that isn't seated properly, it could cause you problems later on down the road. So, for example, as you run your leveling beam or leveling file over the frets, it will push it down, if it's loose, into the fretboard, and it will come across as if it is leveled, but then as soon as you don't have that downwards pressure on it, it'll pop back up again and cause buzz. This is one of those things that you can get through an entire fretting job, or a leveling job at least, and then find out, oh my gosh, this isn't seated. If you have a fret like that, just get a little fretting tool and go from there. Reseat it, reglue it, etc. Okay, next over you want to round over and polish the fret ends. This is also something that people tend to leave till last, but rounding over and polishing fret ends while the entire fretboard is marked off always means there's that little bit that doesn't get done quite right. So I try and do this before I mask anything off. You will need a fret end dressing file, fret rubbers, maybe a micro abrasive or a diamond plate, etc. to do this. Comfortable fret ends are absolutely essential to a comfortable guitar. It's the bit that can, really bite you. Step 4 is to mask off the fretboard. You do not want to run the risk of abrading away your beautiful Zero-Cote fretboard and mother of pearl and abalone inlays, of course. So you tend to mask that off. A couple of layers of masking tape is fine. And yeah, just be careful when you're doing this. Prior to leveling the frets, you need to use a Sharpie or a permanent marker to add some pigment to the top of the frets so you can see what you're doing. Step 5 is to level the frets. Simple. Let's move on. Ha! Okay, you can use a leveling beam or a fret lapping tool, fret leveling file, that sort of tool. Everything we manufacture here is absolutely perfectly flat. Unfortunately, there are a lot of things on the market that are not. And if you don't have a flat tool in order to get flat frets, then it's just not going to work, unfortunately. So yeah, this is the most important part of the job. I am personally moving on to using leveling beams rather than leveling files, and yeah, it's been a long process. I used to prefer files because that's what I learned with, but beams are a lot more flexible, i.e. you can have a whole bunch of different grids. As you are going, your fret rocker is king, okay? Level the frets, check what you're doing with the fret rocker. Again, you do not want to get to the end when you've polished everything and you realize that you've got a high or a low fret somewhere. Assuming that your fret rocker has diagnosed no issues, move on then to using a crowning file to bevel over the edges of the frets. What you want is a thin strip right down the center of the fret that shouldn't really be more than 1/2 mil, 3/4 mil wide at most. That is your intonation point. That is where the string will bounce off the fret, and if that is bang in the center, then your intonation, as long as the frets are in the right place, will be bang on, and it's very important. Also, at this stage, if you make it too thin, i.e. knife edge thin at the top of the fret, when you're doing the polishing, you're going to flatten that, abrade that top surface away a little bit, and thus lower the fret. So don't go too far. Something that a lot of people do if they're not used to this job is put a bit of a banana shape into it, where the line down the center of the fret will be fatter in the center and go to a point at the edges. Avoid that as much as possible because it's not ideal. You might have to go back to the leveling beam and re-level if you go too far at this stage. Once you have done that, once you're happy that your lines are all in the center and fine and beautiful, it's on to polishing, rounding over, etc. I've started using diamond plates. You can use the fret end dressing file as well, which is finer than the crowning file to get rid of some of the crowning file marks. There are many different methods. The little diamond plates are actually very, very useful. This is a thankless task. It's the least fun bit in fretwork, really, is polishing the sides of the frets. Once you have got those sides polished, move on to fret rubbers and stroke or abrasives, so 400, 600, 800 grit wet and dry paper or cloth backed abrasives. Nothing is not fair game. If cotton wool would do the job properly, I would embrace it with joy. I take it back. Wire wool. Never use wire wool for anything unless you're starting fires. But that's another channel entirely. Onwards. Double check with your fret rocker. Again, you've polished everything. You might well have polished a dip into one of the frets. You never know. You're taking microns off the frets, but check anyway. The fret rocker is a precision, perfectly flat, hand-lapped engineering instrument. It will tell you if you've got an issue. So check the fretboard again with it. If you are happy that everything is flat and wonderful, remove the tape, string her up, and enjoy. All right, we're done. This episode is done. I am done. Fretwork. The person who you want to teach you fretwork is the person who despises it more than anything else, because they do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Anyway, it's all good. I'm very, very happy with this result. The guitar is going to play absolutely perfectly. I've just realized I haven't checked it one final time with the fret rocker. I'll get there. Can you hear somebody fretting a guitar in the factory floor down there? In the next video is the end of the process. It is the last bit of this build. I will put the tuners on, make a nut. I will install the bridge, put the pickup in place, wire it up, make a custom control knob, and play it for the first time. I hope my fretwork was good. Please click like, please subscribe, hit that notification button, and most importantly, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like it. If not, my heart can only take so much negativity. See you in the next video. Cheerio.